Fiction and translation, poetry and translation, chapbooks on that little swiveling stand, and graphic novels. So please buy books, buy the author's books. We've got a great event for you tonight. And there's snacks in the back also, so help yourself. Okay, we're gonna kick it off tonight with Daniel Roessler. Daniel Roessler is a poet and an aspiring mystery thriller author who currently resides in Austin, Texas. He is a member of the Writers League of Texas, the Academy of American Poets, and an active participant in the Writers Digest Poetic resides community, placing in several contests. Daniel has previously published one nonfiction book, numerous magazine articles, and a 3-part guest blog series for the Writers Digest on nature poems. Without further ado, Daniel Roessler.
So first of all, thanks to everyone for coming. I see a lot of familiar faces here, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Daniel Roessler, as mentioned, and I published a chapbook, Almost Somebody, with Finishing Line Press. It was published in April of this year, and I'm going to be reading from it tonight. And the kind of theme of the poems in this are really related to how many of us search for our purpose in life, and sometimes deal with issues with self-worth and wonder where we fit into this world and whether we're noticed by other people. So that's kind of the theme, and as I go along, I'll give you a little bit of background, a backstory on some of these poems. So the first one is titled Working Class Fathers and Sons. Before our alarms shrieked a chorus to the day, fathers had already left our neighborhood, wearing steel-toe boots, uniforms, and hard hats, to work in factories, breathing chemicals, endlessly coughing when they returned home late, sweaty, tired from the summer heat, big machines, drinking Miller beer from aluminum cans, reclining in worn leather lazy boys, demanding quiet while watching the late news. And boys like me waited for conversation, hopeful the relationship would come with time. But rent increased, requiring more hours. Days grew shorter until I was no longer around, but off at college living his dream. And the reward for his sacrifice was pride, that he'd made my life better than his own. But as I leave for my office at 6 a.m., I know it's not better, just different. This next poem is about a friend of mine from high school who, a few years after high school, actually started to have a lot of problems with mental illness and schizophrenia. And unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. And so this one's for Jim. It's called Monsters in Your Mind. I never knew, maybe because I didn't want to, of how the dark curtains covered more than the windows in your room. They veiled your misery, the chaos in your head, the loud voices that screamed and shouted of your worthlessness, that ripped at your vulnerable soul, tearing it to shreds, and leaving you split down the middle, like an old pair of jeans, and one became two, neither of which was you. And I heard later about how you wandered the streets, unkempt and unshaven, mumbling and calling out, swatting at the demons all around you, introducing fear as your best friend. And as lonely as I am, I can't imagine how separated you must have felt from everyone and everything, that you would run out onto the freeway in front of speeding cars to kill the monsters in your mind. So out of the poems I'm reading tonight, this next one's probably the most personal to me. It's about my older brother Kevin, who I never met. He died at birth, and even though I never met him, he had a huge influence on my life. So this is titled My Absent Brother. You have stalked me since birth, like my trailing shadow in the sun. Your name falls from father's tongue far too often to be a distant memory. You are present in mother's melancholy, an unspoken sorrow lingering in the room. And many, many winters have passed, but they still remember. You are the source of my greatest doubt, that another boy would not be necessary, but in your passing my life originated. burdening me with unwanted responsibility. You taunt me with your idyllic image, pointing out my own imperfections. And so many times I have questioned without any answers. You whisper to me in my slumber with brotherly guidance and advice, for which I have often yearned. You are much more like our father, interested in cattle and cars, but still we are more the same than not. And because of that, I miss you, my absent brother. This next one's titled Destination Unknown. This vagabond dreams of catching wind, gliding across endless blue to blend into the horizon far away, which melts into the approaching day. This hopeful seeker searches for new, awaiting comets in midnight blue, bright flashes that quickly diminish, leaving no remnants once they finish. This carefree wanderer makes his way, moving swiftly, never long to stay, like vivid autumn leaves on display, decaying into the cold winter gray. This sailor drifts both river and sea, finding out how rough waters can be. In white rapids and waves tossed about, drenched in uncertainty, filled with doubt. This lonely traveling man I know, I've often watched him come and go, and still he journeys on alone toward a destination unknown. So I was born and raised in a very small town in South Texas, Refugio, Texas, and like any of the places that all of us grew up, there's great things about it, not so great things about it. So this is a little bit about my experience growing up there, and it's titled Where I Grew Up. There were no high-rise apartments where I grew up, in a small town with a few traffic lights and a couple of Mexican restaurants, too many convenience stores and fast food joints. Summers were hot, winters were sparse where I grew up in South Texas. Pump jacks from another time resembled big metal grasshoppers, bowing their heads as I drove by in my powder blue pickup truck. Friday nights were for football games where I grew up. In the stadium's shadow, the players were gods, worshipped for their inherited athletic prowess, while those of us who didn't play were nothing but ignored. So my love of poetry started in the 8th grade when I started reading some Robert Frost, and I've been writing poetry ever since. But another author actually really led to my dream of being a writer, and I read several of his books around that same time, and ever since then, he's kind of been my idol. And so this one's a poem for him. It's titled Steinbeck. When you rose in Salinas, I didn't know you. I wasn't born yet, and wouldn't be for many years. So how did we become friends? It was because you were fearless in letting me in, giving me a piece of you on every single page. Character. With you, it was all about character, and how each of us is a part of someone else, and they in turn are a part of us, long before we were astute enough to know it. Family. My father was born in 1939, the year of the Grapes of Wrath. And when I was an awkward teenage boy, eager to experience the world, the Jodes visited and changed me, giving birth to a dream that my words would one day contain the power of yours. And maybe it will never be so. Or maybe tomorrow I will dive deep and find Aquino's pearl. Either way, you have given me that hope, and I am all the better for it. And the last poem that I'm going to read tonight is about searching and seeking, and I've done a lot of that in my life, as I think most of us have, and this one's titled I Ask the Maple. Autumn passes slowly for a man resistant to change, hiking on the limestone ridge near dusk, when a wicked breeze finds its fury and pokes through the pores of my pale, uncovered face. A blanket of mist adds to my misery, causing me to wonder if what I came here looking for is already gone for good. My back aches and my knees throb like those of most old men, but it's my empty soul that hurts the most, weary of struggling against myself. I settle against the furrowed trunk, look up in admiration at the color collage of my umbrella, the spidery veins of the leaves flowering out on yellow, brown, and red canvases. And I ask the maple, how do you have such splendor and magnificence when I have nothing? An answer rustles from the branches above. This is my season. Soon it will be yours. I stand and walk away, content to wait for winter. Thank you all very much for coming.